Drew McIntyre has become a cold-hearted killer. He let Ivar destroy the New Day. He allowed Jey Uso last week to face the beatdown of the Judgment Day, only for Cody Rhodes to come out. He is cold as steel. As I hold up this sword that has nothing to do with Drew McIntyre. It's just the closest thing that I have to Drew McIntyre, and that accent's the closest I'm going to get to it, so judge me if you want. Is Drew McIntyre about to not only turn heel, but is Drew McIntyre possibly going to be a part of the Viking Raiders? I'm going to explain this to you. On a Monday Night Raw, had so many stories, this one stuck out the most to me that I wanted to talk about. As always, if you like the video, hit that like, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below what you think is next for Drew McIntyre. Last week, I made a video talking about the Viking Raiders and how they just seem like they just can't get the push in which they deserve. And last week, somebody, and I don't remember your name, and I apologize, I'm having trouble with my internet, so I wasn't able to go through because I got aggravated and I got a little lazy, just a wee bit lazy last night, trying to find out who it was, and today. So, if you're watching this video and it was you, please, hey, put it in the comments. I want to give you credit where credit is due, because if this comes in fruition, if this actually happens, you get a lot of the credit. I'm just going to take the credit where I posted it on the video. But they said that the Viking Raiders, they feel like need somebody else. They need a fourth person in that group. That Eric and Ivar and Valhalla is not going to be enough to get this group over. And then it got me thinking last night when I was watching this, as Drew McIntyre looked at Ivar and Ivar looked at Drew McIntyre. It's like something went off inside my head. And it all makes sense now. See, they was having Riddle versus and McIntyre versus the Viking Raiders, and there was something going there, but I think all along they was pushing for this, and what probably would have happened was Drew McIntyre would have eventually turned on Matt Riddle. Now, at the release of Matt Riddle, and I'm not going to go too much into it, I really believe the release of Matt Riddle comes down to the fact that there was just so much drama around Matt Riddle here in these last past year. He had to go to rehab for drug abuse. He then comes back and has an issue with his junk getting spread around online where he had sent it. I think it was his ex that maybe had done it. I'm not 100% sure if somebody else did it. I think it was somebody else. But his junk got sent around a little bit. And it was a little hypocritical from the WWE, seeing how the fact that his junk did get moved around and Mandy Rose gets her stuff going, she gets fired and he don't. But I digress. And then, to top it all off, what happened in the airport just a month or so back, a couple weeks ago. And I wasn't there. So I have no room to talk on who was in the right and who was in the wrong. All I can say is that if you look back at Matt Riddle's history of the past year, how much drama has been circling around it. So I believe that had a lot to do with his release. I'm not going to talk so much about Matt Riddle. I'm not going to bury the guy. I have nothing against the guy. Hey, we all have issues in our life. Right, wrong, or indifference. But what I'm talking about is the possibility of Drew McIntyre being the fourth person to join up with the Viking Raiders. And with WWE kind of venturing into a lot of stables here of late with the Judgment Day, with Imperium, the Bloodline, whatever's going on with Cody, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso, them jaws joining up. There's a lot of things being in motion as far as stable goes, so it would make sense that Drew McIntyre being this big bad heel that he can be, because this dude is a massive dude. He has this intimidating look. He's showing a cold-hearted version of himself, which I always felt like Drew McIntyre fit a heel character better than he fit a babyface character. That all being said, him being the default leader of the Viking Raiders makes a lot of sense, because he carries a sword, he wears a kilt, he has that old style look to him as far as what you think of a Celtic warrior, and the Viking Raiders walking out with the shields and all the Viking personas that they put on, and Valhalla wearing what she wears with the deer head and the fur and all that all the way down. It would make a lot of sense, and I think it would work for a little while, that you could push these guys and get them the championship. And I think the guy that made that comment to me last week, like I said, I apologize for not knowing your name. You have a really good point. When I look at that and I think about it, that if they just had somebody, and he has the star power and the name and the draw to get eyes on the Viking Raiders to finally push them over to be WWE Tag Team Champions. I don't think they win it off the Judgment Day, but eventually they would become champions. I still think eventually they could be, but all this stuff is exciting. Last night, Monday Night Raw, I'm just going to say it was fire. But to me, this stood out the most, and his interaction with The Miz, where The Miz would try talking. Shut up, Miz. McIntyre has a way of getting over with the fans, whether he's heel, whether he's a babyface. But I feel like him as a heel, he'll be able to draw in the boos. He has to get away from doing the 3-2-1s. He has to stop. If he would just stop playing to the crowd, Drew McIntyre would have been a heel from the very get-go. He came back as a heel. So for him to return to being a heel, it's what he needs. Because really, as a babyface, what is there for him to do? He lost against Roman Reigns. He lost against Gunther twice, once in a triple threat match at WrestleMania, then once again in the past pay-per-view. Past two pay-per-views. So what else was there really left for Drew McIntyre as a babyface to do? And they're pushing Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes, which is a match that I didn't even know I wanted, but I'm telling you right now, you put them two in the ring with their psychology and in-ring ability, it's going to be a fire match. So I'm very interested to see what takes place. I'm very interested to see if Drew McIntyre, and I think it's a great idea, would join forces with the Viking Raiders. I'm not saying a permanent fixture, but for the time being, I think it could really work, and it could really work in the advantage of all members involved in that group.